Livestock 247 is a huge contributor within this space. I use the word huge without apologies in quote, because our goal is to mainstream the livestock sector. And what do we mean by that? When we talk about mainstreaming the livestock sector, our goal is to see that the livestock sector is included into the broader themes of, economic development, GDP, increment within the scope of Nigeria and Africa as a whole, understanding that the livestock sector is a huge, sector that we've not even begun to scratch the surfaces of what the livestock sector can bring to us. So having said that, we'll just delve straight into the webinar proper. So like all our previous editions, the livestock conferences is usually a conversational style webinar where we ask questions, we get answers. There really are no presentations or anything except when we have keynote addresses, which we don't have for today. And it's conversation. So I'll just go straight to the question. Okay, so before I do that, I would like to introduce our speakers. Please, our speakers, please show us your faces. Let us see, turn on your video so we can see your faces. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I reached out to each and every one of you, and you have obliged us. We are very, very grateful. I'll just do a quick introduction of our speakers, and we'll take it from there. So first we have Mr. Nurain Abdul Fattah, who is the Deputy Chief of Party for Mexico Rural Resilience Activity. I know he stays a lot. He really, really loves the northeastern part of the country, even though, interestingly, he's a Yoruba man. Wow. Welcome, sir, Mr. Nurain. Thank you for joining us. Then we have Ms. Fisayomi Kayode, one of the biggest women in agricultural sector. See, if you have a number, just save it, because very soon you'll be needing that number. You'll be paying people to get a number. Fisayo, thank you for joining us. We're very grateful. And last but not least, we have our Oga in the building. Thank you very much, Dr. Ayo Oyedotun. He's the founder and CEO of Afrimash, a huge stakeholder in market facilitation within the livestock sector. Thank you very much, Dr. Ayo Oyedotun, for joining us. So we'll just go straight into the business of the day. And since we are in Women's Month, this is Women's Month, this question is going to go straight to Madam Fisayomi Kayode. We know that, I mean, this time is called, when you look at the industrial revolutions, we're already talking about the fourth industrial revolution. Personally, I think that in the agricultural sector, we've not even harnessed the third industrial revolution, and the fourth one is already upon us. But then we cannot not talk about technology and how all of these technologies are already now being intertwined in our lives and our day-to-day spaces. And then also we also have the issue of sustainability. Fisayo, please, can you help us with explain briefly how can technology play a key role in transitioning towards a more sustainable agricultural practice?
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ogochi, and thank you for having me. Greetings to everyone. Greetings to Nurain and Ayo. I'm so excited to be here. So in response to that first question, I'll start with data, access to data, and I'm more biased about access to data because I work in management consulting where we have to make use of data to make decisions. And if the adoption of technology in the country is quite slow, it might be difficult for us to really come up with strategic, transformational interventions or initiatives that would drive a sustainable agriculture sector as a whole. And I would like to break this down further. Just a few months ago, we've had to do some work for MasterCard Foundation where that's at Sahel Consulting, where they were trying to identify all of the players within the sector across different value chains. There was poultry, maize, cassava, and so on, and who is doing what. And it was a very hard work to really sit down and do a desk research to know who is doing what in the space. And the reason why it becomes really hard to do desk research in Nigeria is because there's no information out there, or you just see some information and then they are just on the high level. So we had to do a lot of calling, we have to do a lot of field visits, ask questions, reach out to the different agencies that are doing stuff, both across the public and private sector, to pull together those information. And from that activity, we found out that a lot of people are doing the same things in silos. And having this, I would say, having this platform that could help us to collate or consolidate all of these people's effort, all of these organizations' activities into one could really help us streamline, collaborate better, and work towards achieving more sustainability and even higher productivity within the sector. Another challenge that I have identified over the years is the fact that still around data, leveraging data for agricultural sustainability, is the fact that we don't even have a comprehensive database of the farmers and the producers and processors within the Nigerian sector. So for example, if you go to the government of the US and you ask them for a database of farmers in a particular state, let's say Chicago, they'll pull it off for you and it will be updated. You'll be able to see where these farmers are, what are their contacts, what value chain do they focus on, and every other information that is critical to help make any decision, or if you need to reach out to them to collaborate. But we do not have that singular platform, both at state level and at national level in Nigeria. So many people are doing stuff. For example, I'm sure Livestalk 247 will have a database of the farmers they work with within the livestock sector. Apex has theirs, Hafimash will have theirs because they facilitate access to market. So there are different persons with these different database of the different farmers they work with, but they are not consolidated, and it really makes it hard for us to track what the farmers are doing, what are their specific needs, how do we reach them directly. And I would say that that even contributes to corruption, because when a government initiative is available to provide support for farmers and send out maybe input support and so on, how sure are we that the farmers are getting it when we don't even have a comprehensive data to say this is where the farmers are, and then there's something that the farmers signs off on that can even reflect on that database to say that I had accessed this thing input truly. So I'll pause here and just leave the floor open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fisayo. Thank you. That's very, very profound. Access to data is very key. And to corroborate what you said, I was speaking with someone not too long ago, and we talked about this issue. So many data is on the internet and they are not verifiable. And many of them, from my experience, are actually very false. So I'll move on to Nurain with this question. And that's particularly because of the work that you're doing in, the northeastern part of Nigeria, and the very important work of, reviving that area. You're dealing with a lot of people that, in quote, are not very learned, those are your major beneficiaries. And but these people are usually the ones that are the processors. I think according to ILRI data some years ago, 95% of livestock held in Nigeria, and I think Africa, are held by nomadic farmers and smallholder farmers in general. So what has been your biggest challenge to getting people to adopt new technologies, whether in the farms or the processors or any, in the course of your work, what has been the biggest challenge to getting people to adopt these technologies? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wochi. Talking about adopting technology on the Feed the Future Nigeria Rural Resilience Activity, of course, we've been able to introduce different technological advances, basically to bring in more efficiency into agricultural processes, bring transparency, increase trust. Just we know technology generally is an enabler. There must be a solution on ground that technology comes to enhance. But the biggest challenge we've had so far have been around infrastructure. Because the use of technology requires certain infrastructure to be in place, particularly in the deep rural communities where large-scale agricultural production happens. So you have issues of network connectivity being an issue. Not all of those communities are well captured. And that infrastructural problem and connectivity problem hinders and limits the inclusion of many of our farmers in the use of technology in agriculture. This technology comes in various forms. For example, using technology for extension. We've been able to work with different companies that have digital extension services. And we see that the use of these digital extension services vary from communities to communities depending on connectivity. Of course, technology as trading platforms, like so 247 have a trading platform, for example, that gives information around prices, among some other things. But the use and utilization of these resources is varied depending on access to certain issues of infrastructure. Another thing is adoption rates. Another challenge could be around perceived costs. We have different technologies that have been introduced to ease agricultural processes, but the perceived cost have also been a big challenge to adoption, because most times this technology require some initial investments that might seem high, but in the long run, they are cheaper. So farmers prefer to stay in their comfort zone using the traditional processes that might look cheaper at the time of implementation, but in the long run, they are more expensive, more time consuming, more labor consuming, and they do not speak well to their productivity. So if I might sum the major challenges in three: one is issues of infrastructure, two, issues of perceived cost, and three, adoption rates have really been very, very slow. Thank you, Anova.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Nurin. Just a quick follow-up question. What will you say about trust? Especially with, I have encountered some issues of trust, people not trusting the people providing these solutions. What do you want to say? Do you have anything to say about that? The issue of gaining the trust of your beneficiaries on before using certain technologies.
Yes, I know. Talking about the issue of trust, it's difficult to give a blanket judgment to this when it comes to trust. We have certain technology platforms that farmers have absolute trust or high level of trust. There's no absolute trust anywhere, by the way. They have high level of trust in the process, particularly those in the financial service component, because we've worked with, because financing is very critical in agriculture, and we have a lot of financial service providers leveraging technology to get these finances, credits, loans, among others, to farmers at their doorstep without them needing to travel very far, especially in those communities. We have rural communities that don't even have a bank, but we have farmers there that are utilizing some of these digital platforms. Now, but we also have that digital platform still within the financial space that farmers don't trust. So for me, what factors determine trust?
Dr. Ali, can you please mute yourself?
Oh, Mr. Nurin, your mic is mute.
Apologies, I've been speaking since.
Oh, good.
So where do I even start from? You asked a follow-on question. So talking about trust, it is difficult to give a blanket judgment about whether or not farmers trust some of these technological platforms. So it depends on which technology you are talking about, which digital platform you are talking about, and who is the owner of that platform. For example, if you look at the financial service space, we have a lot of farmers who are utilizing these digital technology platforms because, of course, finance is very important in the agricultural space. So agricultural financing, we have many financial service providers that are utilizing their digital platforms to reach farmers in the last mile in deep rural communities with finance. And farmers are accessing them. They have so much trust in these systems. Why? Because a lot of factors are involved, possibly sometimes the supplier. Because talking about technology, we have to look at it from both the demand side and the supply side. What have the supplier put in place to build the confidence of the farmers, to build the confidence of the users in that technology platform? Talking about it. I don't know, is somebody making a comment?
No, please continue.
So if we have someone who can mute people centrally, I think it will be better to minimize interruptions.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but when you move to certain spaces, farmers have doubts in certain technologies. So for me, I think the question of trust is dependent on what technology you are talking about, who is the supplier of that technology, how much awareness and information is provided to the farmers, and how much is that technology owner able to adapt and tailor the solutions to the needs of the farmers. So a lot of factors come into play when it comes to trust. It's difficult to say farmers trust technology platforms or they do not trust the technology platforms. A lot of factors will determine how you come to conclusion. I don't know if this provides answer.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. And so, this next question will be going to Dr. Ayo. Sir, how can we bridge the gap between technological innovation and its practical application by farmers? And I'll just try to give like a context to this. We've had situations where in the office, the programmer is doing something fantastic. People that want to provide this solution, the organization is going to, sell in quotes this solution to the farmers. They look at it and they feel like this can't be better. But then we then take it to the farmers or the people that will need to use this technology, and for very many reasons, for some reasons, they are not using this technology. How can we bridge this gap between these people, the technological innovation that's from the providers and then the users now, that's the practical application by the farmers? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gucci. And let me start again by thanking you for this program, for this event. I thank Livestalk 247 for the invitation. It's an honor to be here. I also thank Ibrahim Megeri for the great work that he's doing. I sort of feel that this is an unpopular topic in the private sector, and Livestalk 247 has decided to have a program around it, which is very commendable. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, how do we bridge the gap between adoption? And sincerely, this is a very important problem that we need to solve. When we talk about sustainability in agriculture, we see that the future of the world and food security cannot be achieved without sustainability. And technology has a lot to do when it comes to achieving sustainability in the future. Technology has so many things to do. Unfortunately, technology is faced with those kind of issues that you have talked about. Adoption is a serious challenge. I would not say that we have all the answers now, but some of the things that readily come to mind.
Why the fuck did you turn off my camera, you fucking niggers?
All right, sorry about that. So one of the things that come to mind readily is we need to create with the farmers. Whatever technology that we are building now for our farmers, especially because our farmers in Nigeria and in Africa, they are different from the farmers in the developed world. and most of the technology that we are bringing, where the technology is being developed from, they have more sophisticated farmers.
Hey, yo, your hairlight's pretty fucked, dude.
Sorry about that again.
I'm sorry. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Love you, little boy. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. So, so I was going to say that in the developed world, they have a different category of farmers. They are more sophisticated. They have more access to infrastructure. They have they are bigger farms. So the technology that is traditionally developed in other parts of the world, we cannot bring them and just replicate them in Nigeria. We need to build something that is localized. So we need to sit down with the farmers and we need to start co-creating with them. That's the first thing that comes to mind. The other thing is because we have a large number of smallholder farmers in Nigeria, we need to think about building low-cost solution, simple low-cost solution. I like some of the initiatives that I've been seeing in Nigeria lately, where e-commerce solution, even banks, fintech solutions are deploying the likes of USSD. We also using agent network to be able to penetrate those places. Whatever we are doing, whatever technology we are doing, we need to think about low-cost solution. We need to think about localized technology that the farmers will be able to adopt. Maybe an area where the government can play is when it comes to digital literacy. So you also found out that farmers are in rural areas and they are digitally illiterate. They don't know how to use these tools. Most of these local solutions that you take to them can be difficult for them to use. And as an agri-tech company, I found out that a lot of our budget is going into educating the farmers. That also means that the money that we could have used to grow in other ways, we need to first educate the farmers before we can sell to them. So government development organizations can come in and help to educate the farmers so that they know how to use these solutions. And then we can easily bring technology to them that can help to achieve food security in the world over the next couple of years. So from the government side, I think that we should think about digital education. Another thing that the government can do, and I'm not sure if the government understands and policymakers understand this very well, that technology has a lot that it can play in achieving sustainability in the world. And I think government and digital and development organizations should begin to incentivize the adoption of technology. We should begin to incentivize it. There's a quote from the FAO that says that if we continue agriculture the way it is today, in 2050, when food demands in the world is going to be 60% greater than it is today, by that year, agriculture is going to take a toll on our resources. And we might not be able to support the requirement of agriculture if we continue to use fertilizers the way we are using them, use chemicals the way we are using them, waste food the way we are wasting food right now in the world. If everything continues the way it is, it has the future is bleak. The future is not good. And I think that technology can do a lot, to solve some of these problems that we have identified over the last couple of years. What we need now is to have the government, development organizations incentivize these farmers to adopt technology. Kind of, let's achieve some acceleration in the adoption of technology. So I think that government also can provide support in terms of providing grants, providing incentives, subsidy, if possible, provide tax breaks for tech companies so that we can bring more solution to more farmers over the years. Let me stop there before so that we can have a more rounded discussion. Thank you, Dr. Gucci.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Ayo. That was quite robust. And, you even went as far as addressing some questions that I would like to ask, talking about smallholder farmers. And so thank you very much. And we're very correct in the role of the government. I think that it is very important. The role of the government and big agencies, funding agencies cannot be overemphasized in conversations like this. Hopefully, and also for what Mr. Noreen said, the lack of infrastructure, it's really, really serious. And I want to believe that as we keep having this type of conversations, the right ears, the information gets to the right ears, and then things start getting done. Now, well, we're looking at some specific technology now. So, when we talk about agriculture, there are some specific technology that, in my head, sometimes I think that some people just use these things as buzzwords and they are not really, doing what they should be doing. But we're going to be talking a little bit about some of them, like precision agriculture, sensor technology, and robotics. Um, Sir Noreen, Mr. Noreen, I know that you're a well-read person. What do you think about the role of precision agriculture and technologies like sensor technology, robotics, drone farming? What role do they play now? Do you think that they are even important in our sector, in the agricultural sector as it is now? Or should we even just begin to, focus on doing other things as against, since we don't even have the infrastructure to support the technology, should we first focus on that, or should we do both of them at the same time? Are they important for Nigeria, the current state of agriculture at the agricultural sector in Nigeria?
Thank you so much, Dr. Gucci. That's a very good question to ask at the moment. There have been a lot of technology solution claims all around the world, but not all of them always make it to the market. And for those of them who make it to the market without concrete solutions, they don't always stay long in the market. Like I've always said, it is one thing to have technology. It is another thing for the technology to solve real problems on the ground. And that is why for any initiative, we must deploy technology. It is important we ask, is it really solving the pain points of the farmer or of the user or of the communities that we are targeting? In this case, our own Nigerian farmers. The technologies you've mentioned, especially focusing on issues of precision farming, those things that fall under precision farming, sensor technology, data analytics, among others, they are very, very important, and they will bring a lot of value when you look at the solutions they provide. One, you can be sure they are bringing a lot of optimization. They bring in a lot of efficiencies, and they improve productivity of farmers. And sometimes not only productivity, including production. Because as much as possible, we want to differentiate production from productivity. Production is just to have an increase in output. But sometimes increase in output does not necessarily translate to good return on investment. That's where productivity comes in. How much did you invest? How much did you get back? But with this technology, you can see a good increase in production and commensurate increase in productivity, which means they are very important in our own case. So if we are to harness the power of technology, the power of the data analytics that come with some of those technology you mentioned, for example, and the use of some of those advanced equipment, I can tell you that it will bring in a lot of efficiency and will have increased productivity. And another benefit that this technology brings is they help to minimize wastage and unnecessary use of inputs. If you work with rural farmers at the last mile, you see clear wastage in the use of inputs. Over fertilization, seeds are wasted. And for those who engage in irrigation farming, even water is wasted. So a lot of inputs are wasted and a lot of energy goes in, and the output at the end of the day will still be poor. And not only this, issues of environmental protection also come into play, because some of these inputs, when they are overused, they get released into the environment, particularly crop protection products. Now, what this technology helps us do is, as the name implies, precision. If you need 2 mil, you use 2 mil. If you need 3 mil, you use 3 mil. Not using 1 kg when you actually need only 1 gram. So they help to reduce that cost. So at the end, in the long run, you realize that the value, the cost of inputs that the farmer uses reduces significantly. sometimes by up to 50% or even more, because a lot of wastages have been taken care of. Secondly, issues of time. It saves a lot of time. Third, issues of labor shortages. Yes, maybe we might talk about labor in detail later. Sometimes when you use some of these advanced equipment, it reduces the human labor need. Yes, there are times, because farm labor is seasonal. We have times where we have surplus labor and people don't even have work to do, which creates a lot of underemployment and unemployment in certain seasons. But we have seasons, especially during wet season, where you have labor shortages in the farms in rural communities. And this is affecting productivity of some farmers who are producing on a large scale. When you don't have laborers to work on that farm, it affects your production, it affects your productivity at the end of the day. But with the use of this technology, it saves you from some of those challenges of labor shortages at the end of the day. So overall, if we are to sum it all, you realize that this technology are helping us to increase productivity, they're helping us in terms of resource management. At the end of the day, this translates to increase in profit and reduced environmental impact. So yes, these technologies are needed now in this country. We might not have all of the infrastructure, but they can, with time, some of these things will. I know recently in year 2023, MTN mentioned that they've been able to, within Northeast alone, over 300 communities who were not having connectivity before had connectivity, and they are still expanding. So that shows that it's better we continue to introduce some of this technology, even though they might be at the initial space. They might not reach a level where, the level where we want to see them, but we need to start. The journey of 1,000 years begin with a step. Let's start. Sometimes you need to start moving the ship while you are building it. Sometimes you need to start flying the plane before you even start fixing some things on the plane. So we mustn't have everything perfect before we start. Let's make do with what is available. And to what Dr. Ayo mentioned earlier, some of those technologies, it is important we adapt them to our own needs and our own capacities here. We might not have all of the enabling environment, because apart from the demand and supply, enabling environment is very important. Even if we don't have the enabling environment, let's do with what we have and start from somewhere. There is something about the market. As long as you start, if there's a need for some improvement, even within the enabling environment, the market is resilient. I can assure you it will take shape. But waiting for everything to be perfect is never going to be perfect. Thank you, Anova.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that answer. That answer is very key, because I've had some people say that, oh, we have not even entered into the third industrial revolution in Nigeria. Which one is fourth industrial revolution? And this issue particularly, I knew minister for, I think, information and digital economy, that grant that he put out. I saw some people talking about it, and I thought this is something that we need to talk about, because conversations are not only ways to present your points, but there are also ways to hear what other people have to say about what you're thinking. So it can help you say, oh, maybe I was wrong, or maybe I am right. And thank you very much for that. So our madam, Kisayomi, so now we're talking about technology. And one of the bigger issues that people are having with technology is, especially people in my generation and younger, they are talking about technology taking people's jobs. Technology taking people's jobs. And I think that you're perfect to answer this question, because you work in a consulting company. And, because of that unique opportunity, you have broad overview of many different facets of this beautiful industry that we are in. So I'm going to ask you, Fisayomi, what are the potential job implications of increased automation in agriculture? And how do we ensure a smooth transition in the workforce? There is one thing that, oh, people are scared, and so they don't want the technology. Like, what everybody's talking about, AI. AI is coming to take your job. AI is coming to take your job. And so some people are kicking against it. I am a supporter of AI. I am a big supporter of AI. You know, I use AI in many things that I do because I think it is here to stay. But then, how do we balance that? You know, the job market, there is unemployment crisis. How do we balance the use of technology, adoption of technology, and then, you know, the job market? Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I used to joke about this at the office that at the end of the day, humans are still smarter than AI. Because sometimes you ask AI to do something, to do what you didn't ask it to do.
True.
So to apply the use of technology and AI, we still need the humans to get it done. They won't just work by themselves. And that's where the transition from the conventional job roles, shifting from that to new job opportunities come. It's true that there might be some level of job displacement. For example, let's look at the least within agriculture is the use of tractor. We can also refer to that as technology, where a tractor can plow an hectare of land in one day. And if you wanted to get that done by humans, you need like 50 people to get it done. So that means that people that used to work as farm laborers, they will now have less access to those physical jobs to get done. But the opportunity that exists there is that they can also explore other job opportunities like advisory. So advisory doesn't have to be so sophisticated. It could be something as easy as telling your community members what to do, best practices, and then you get paid for it. So I think that even as the traditional kinds of job begins to drift away because of technology replacement, there's an opportunity for people to look into new job opportunities that technology is creating. So someone will have to manage the infrastructure or the technological applications. Someone will have to teach people how to use them. Someone will have to pass on information from one place to the other. So those are the opportunities that would come as we begin to have more technology. And if you really browse top lucrative jobs in the world right now, I think the tech space is winning. And that means that there's more opportunity for especially youth and women in agriculture to really look beyond the conventional agriculture and see how they can bring in technology and leverage its benefits for their own use, for job opportunities, and so on. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Fisayomi, for that response. And I like the fact that you talked about youth and women in agriculture. You know, even though we are in the Women's Month, I get a lot of, I have quite a diverse group of friends that some people say, oh, you're always celebrating women. And so I said, okay, you know what? We still have plenty Women's Day and Mother's Day. I'm going to give you this one. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not harping on women. Because I think that one of the biggest things that technology is doing is making opportunities equitable for both the male and the female gender. I think that one of the biggest things, and many people don't talk about this enough, technology makes it that men and women are almost at par when it comes to opportunities, because the ability to learn, there's no difference. You cannot say, oh, learning requires more physical strength or anything. So I think technology is one of those things that will help us bridge that gap. So thank you very much, Fisayomi. Now, I'm going to talk about sustainable development, sustainability. Obviously, the theme for this particular conference is around sustainability in agriculture and the role of technology in sustainability in agriculture. Now, sustainability hinges on three things: the social development, the economic empowerment of the people, and then the environment. we know that in this time and age, there's a lot of talk about climate action. I mean, the last COP28 in Dubai really trended. I'm not sure that there's any environmental summit that has trended as much as that COP28 trended. Different people talking about different things. So the point that people are now, there's a term now called greenwashing, where companies will just, act like they are doing something good for the environment, meanwhile they are not. But in the wake of all of this, there's been the other question of, okay, you are doing all of this for instance, I've heard people say, I'm going to use this example. I've heard people say things like, oh, you are saying we should use electric vehicles, EV vehicles, EV motors and cars. But what of the cost of producing that EV car on the environment? How do we bridge that gap? So I'm going to be asking Mr. Dr. Ayo Oyedotun this question. Sir, in your opinion, do you think that the cost of deploying these technologies, bearing in mind that currently with the lack of the infrastructural deficits that we have, for us to reach these producers many times, the last mile, there's a lot of fossil fuels being burnt. I mean, that's our current reality. And what have you? Do you think, and other environmental impacts that some of our activities can have in the course of developing and adopting these technologies, do you think that those costs are commensurate with the benefits that we might reap based on environmental impacts?
That's a very interesting question. And thank you, Dr. Gucci, because it resonates with me, because it reminds me of what I was thinking about as I was preparing for this conversation. That when population was growing and the world was industrializing, we had no idea that we are going to create a lot of negative impact on the world also. To the extent that even agriculture, which is supposed to feed the world, is also having negative impact on the world in some ways. So the other question that is on my mind is exactly what you're asking, that now that we are trying to improve our production methods from the traditional ways of production and shift into a more sustainable system, do we even know what trouble we might be creating for the future of the world? And that's not something that anybody can know. It's something that we'll probably know in 50 years' time or in 70 years' time when we've created the problem already, and then we see that we need to solve the problem that we have created already. That's the irony. That's the irony of this question that you're asking. However, my first hunch to your question is, and just like we do in business, you want to see that the cost of producing these things, can we weigh the benefit versus the cost of producing the machines and all of these things that we need to produce to be more sustainable in the world? I want to believe that at several levels that is being done. I want to believe it's being done at several levels. And from my own point, from where I stand, some of the things that we are doing as e-commerce companies to bring sustainability to the world, I see that it comes with its cost, but over a long time, over the next couple of years and decades, eventually the benefit outweighs the cost. That's what I see. Eventually, the benefit outweighs the cost. And one thing I should also add is that at the point that we are now, sincerely, we do not have a choice. We need to deploy better solutions than the traditional ones. We see the effects that these things are causing, and we need to move very fast. I do not know if most people see the urgency of what we are dealing with, but I see that it's very, very urgent for us to begin to ensure that whatever we do at any level, the solutions that we are deploying are better than the traditional ones. There's this thing that is commonly said about Africa, that if Africa has not industrialized like the developed world, Africa has that choice not to deploy the solution that they deployed that also contributed to the degradation of the world. Africa has that opportunity to deploy a better solution. And as young people, I think that that's one of the responsibilities that we shoulder in this generation, to think beyond the solutions that is currently available in the world and say that we know that these solutions have been developed to industrialize, to industrialize, yes, as part of industrialization. But as we deploy our own solution, we want to factor in sustainability into everything we are doing. So to repeat my answer to your question, I believe at several levels, cost versus benefit is being weighed. And from my own perspective, I believe that at the end of the day, the benefits far outweigh the costs of deploying these things. Unless, like you said, there may be organizations who are doing greenwashing, which, I don't want to speak about that for now. Let's just focus on the organizations that are doing the right things and, are weighing the costs and the benefits in deciding what they do. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your response. And you are quite spot on when you say we really do not know the implications of what we are doing right now, but we can only hope for the best because we cannot continue. I mean, it feels like we're in between a rock and a deep blue sea at this point in time. And we need to do something, and we need to do something fast. Now, having said that, there are some salient issues when it comes to technology deployment. In fact, our agricultural sector as a whole. I think that the Nigerian, and I think it is the same thing across most states in Africa, the agricultural sector is such that the poorest of the poor are the ones involved in the agricultural sector, and with specific emphasis to the livestock sector. Sometimes it feels like it is, yes, I think it is getting better. There's been more awareness over the past few years, and I think that successive presidents, some of them, in my opinion, paying lip service, but at least putting awareness on the agricultural sector. Seems to be, some people are now knowing that, oh, we can do this, we can do that. But I think that the poorest of the poor, or let me say the poor people in quotes in the country, are the ones, really involved in the agricultural sector. Now, having said that, we also know that there's an issue with equitable distribution of resources, especially in our context, seeing everything. There's no point overflogging that. How do we ensure that these technologies now that we are adopting, it is circulating well, and it is not a situation, I read a report some time ago, and I can't remember, even if I remember, I wouldn't mention the name of the paper that did it, said 87% of Nigerians use cryptocurrency. And I'm like, do these people think that Nigeria is Lagos? How can you say 87% of Nigerians use cryptocurrency? You mean 87% of Lagosians use no cryptocurrency? And that is the peculiar case of Nigeria. You understand? And I think it is an African thing, really. So how do we ensure equitable distribution of these technological resources when we come in, not just even the hardware, but even the knowledge, real distribution? How do we ensure that when we train our people and the digital information service people or the livestock people that we are sending into these places to, or even agricultural extension agents that we're sending into these places to distribute this knowledge and to share this knowledge, how do we ensure that they are sharing the right knowledge at the right time and they are doing the right things? And that question, I think every one of us will answer that question because it is very important. And I think all of us will bring unique answers to that question. So we'll start with Mr. Nure.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ogochi. Like you rightly mentioned, we know that the majority of our farmers are smallholders and poor, and mostly in deep rural communities. We have very few, if you compare where it's bottom heavy when you look at the smallholder farmers. Very few are large scale farmers that you can find at the top. And for them, affording some of this technology is not even an issue. So for me, we must ensure that this technology is widely distributed. Everybody have a role to play. The government have a role to play in terms of infrastructure, like we mentioned earlier. Because if the infrastructure is not in place, even if these solutions are available, the consumers of these solutions, who are the farmers, will not be able to utilize it at the end of the day. One thing we need to look at is we mustn't bring all of the technology at once, like I mentioned, but let's start somewhere. It's better you are moving than standing and planning. Like one of my mentors will say, let's continue sailing and as we assemble our ship. As suppliers of this technology, the owners of this technology need to consider who the consumers are. They need to consider the affordability of whatever service or products they are offering as far as technology is concerned. Is it affordable to the farmers? This is very important because if it is not affordable in the long run, then the consumers will not consume it, and whoever is the owner of that technology will certainly not be in business within the space we want them to be. So for us, for example, on the rural resilience activity, we are very passionate about the supply side, just like we are passionate about the demand side. Because if the supply side have not done the needful, of course, you don't expect the demand side to benefit. So issues of affordability, issues of having a technology that is really meeting the needs of the farmers and not just any form of technology that might go to the farmers and end up not being used. Another thing we can do is to invest in information. We need to invest in ensuring that information and awareness is created among farmers. And this we can do through several channels. One of the most efficient channel of reaching farmer is through the extension service delivery system. It might not be as efficient as we want it to be, but as far as Nigeria is concerned, one of the best ways of reaching farmers still is through our extension service delivery system. So I feel whatever technology we want to introduce can also go through that system, and it's easy for farmers to understand and adopt. Because farmers, if you look at the psychology of farmers in general, they believe in what they see more than what they hear. You talk to a farmer from morning till evening, he only listens to you. But demonstrate whatever you want him to see as he sees it, and he will, that behavioral change will be achieved within a short period of time. And that's why we have demonstration centers, demonstration plots. So if we can go through our extension systems, deploy some of these technologies, farmers see their performance, I can tell you, you don't need to talk to him. Tomorrow he will go and do the needful. Now, one of the major challenges to adoption is the initial cost of investment. The investment cost of procuring some of these technologies. Like I mentioned earlier, it might be expensive, but in the long run, if you look at the benefits, it will always be, it's more cost effective. It is cheaper in the long run. But the traditional processes might look cheap, but in the long run, they are much more expensive. So we need to rally our financial service providers to provide financial products and financial services that farmers can tap into to be able to afford some of these technologies. Yes, I know not all of the technologies are expensive. Some are cheaper, some are expensive, but in general, they require some level of financing. If we can have that type of financing, whether farmers come as individuals, whether they come as producer organizations in clusters, cross-guaranteeing one another, issues of access to finance is one major barrier to accessing and adopting some of this technology. And if we're able to do that, I think issues of distribution will be automatically taken care of, looking at the combination of all of this. Let me not talk too much. I know others will give other perspective to the same question. Thank you, and over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Noreen. And I'll be moving on to Fisayomi to answer that same question because, I believe that with her background in consulting and also, interacting with some of the bigger donor agencies and multilateral organizations and even the ministries, federal ministries, MDAs in Nigeria. She'll be able to give us maybe another angle to that question. So Fisayomi, over to you.
All right, thank you. I mean, Noreen has covered a lot, but I'll just add that in terms of collaboration, we need to do more within the space to foster partnerships that would ensure that we are bringing in technology that would benefit the people, especially the ones in the rural areas. So, for example, network providers, technology solutions, service provider, financial service providers, very important for us to bring to rural communities and provide access to digital solutions or technologies. For example, most times it's difficult for farmers, especially in the rural areas, to have access to financial services or use a bank, and that's because they feel like it's not accessible to them. They really don't understand the concept. So at the end of the day, when you want to partner with banks, most of them are even reluctant because they see it as a cost to go into those communities. So finding creative ways to make the solutions adaptable at that rural level would be very helpful. And also having government interventions that also support this penetration of technology solutions will be helpful. And having the government involved would mean that we need enabling policies. Most times we've always, just think about how there are no policies that support farmers or people within the rural community to have access to financial services. And, they need to do a lot of things. The bank charges is a lot. Someone that is making 2,000 naira a day, then 100 naira charge or 15 naira charge for those set of people. And how can we tailor things to meet the different category of people at different socioeconomic levels of the country? So I think those are additional things that we can do to ensure that we are really making technology widespread and penetrating into the hard-to-reach communities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yemi. Well said, well said. So I would like Dr. Ayo to give us the entrepreneurial aspect angle to that same question.
Amazing. So quickly, yeah. I think that truly Noreen and Chisawami have said a lot. I just want to add two things that come to my mind. So first of all, both of them are hammered on the fact that financial access is a huge concern. The farmers cannot afford some of these products or services. Secondly, they probably don't have access to banks. They don't have access to financial resources. And that's one of the things that I'm getting very impatient about personally as an agri-tech person. I think that for many years we have been waiting for the banks to deploy better solutions so that farmers can access these things. But the financial institutions seem to have other priorities. And I just think I should just mention on this platform that I think it's high time for agri-tech companies to begin to embed financial solution into whatever they are doing. We probably will achieve progress faster that way. The fintechs, the financial institutions do not trust agriculture. And really, agriculture is very risky, and we understand them. That's very true. But some of we that have been dealing with them for this number of years, we seem to understand these farmers a lot more than the financial institutions. And we can't stay and continue to beg the financial institution that, oh, we need a solution for these people. I mean, for the past maybe 1 year, I've been working on a project and we've spoken with several financial institutions and we keep hitting roadblocks. As soon as they hear that you are dealing with farmers or you are dealing with, this category of farmers, and we know that there's a way to deal with them, So one thing I think we should begin to do as agri-tech companies is let's begin to embed financial solutions into what we are doing. So, that may be like a bit of a distraction for what we are doing, but at the end of the day, it's not distraction. It's really the way forward for us. Then the other thing that I also wanted to add is also about finances. I think that the government and the development institution also should begin to think about incentives like grants, programs that will support the adoption of technology. we need to give these farmers incentive that will make them to adopt technology. Like Lorraine said, one thing about farmers is that, see, farmers only adopt what they are familiar with. That's why when you asked about farmers' adoption of technology, he said in some cases they adopt them, in some cases they don't. In fact, that sometimes the role of a third party who they're already familiar with plays a lot of role in enabling them to adopt digital technology. So farmers are very reluctant. Farmers are very reluctant to adopt digital technology, and it's important that there are incentive systems put in place for them to adopt the technology. Now, leaving agri-tech companies alone to get farmers to adopt their technology, we are business people. Yeah, we will work on getting farmers to adopt our technology, but it weighs a lot on our balance sheet. It costs us a lot more. What a fintech or other organizations will deploy quickly and make money. For us, we can't deploy quickly and make money. We have to do a lot of education, a lot of work has to go into the same thing. So we are playing the patient game. We are being very, very patient with the market that we are dealing with. And the government and the development organization needs to see this, and they also need to see the urgency of what we are doing, that bringing technology to improve sustainability in the world is urgent. So it's not also very wise to leave the agri-tech companies to continue to take the patient approach. If there's a way to incentivize the farmers to adopt technology faster, I believe that we should begin to look in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Like I said, I knew you were going to bring the entrepreneur angle to this, and you're very spot on. You're very spot on. We need to find ways to incentivize farmers. But this question of incentive is a long-standing question. We've had real debates for and against incentivizing solutions, and yes, solutions, especially for farmers. I'll also ask this question across board. Noreen, please, from your experience, what do you think? Are you for incentives or against incentives? Understanding that people have argued that many times when you incentivize these solutions, once you withdraw the incentive, people don't want to, do it again. So it is not. The argument is that it is not a sustainable way to prefer solutions, because everything is now hinged on you giving them an incentive. Are you for or against it?
Thank you so much for that question. Now, looking at what we've done in the development space for quite some times now, development is beginning to take more of a market angle because let me not use it as incentive. Giving things out freely sometimes have a way of creating some level of dependency. In the long run, it affects the resilience of the smallholder farmers that you want to support, whose resilience you want to build. And that is why for us on rural resilience activity, for example, we have been able to combine different approaches to introducing new technologies to farmers, but the market approach have proven to be the most sustainable, where you come with the private sector partner that is the owner of this innovation, that will deploy this innovation, and then bring the farmers, create a business relationship between them, but ensuring that whatever relationship that is between them is the one that creates impact at the end of the day. In fact, the principle is to engage impact investors. An impact investment underscores three things: economic impact. Whatever innovation that is coming should have an economic impact for the private sector partner and for the farmers who are on the demand side. So it should be a win-win situation from the economic side. Then on the social impact, the second part of impact investments really dwells on social impact. How does the private sector partner treat his consumers, his suppliers, the people who operate along his value chain matters a lot, because he must do good. They call it do good while doing good. Meaning you are doing good to others by also doing good in the process. So we look at issues of social impact, and of course, the third part is the issues of environmental impact, which might not really be related to the conversation. So in essence, the best way to ensure sustainability of any innovation is to approach it from the market angle. Giving things to people freely have more disadvantages than the advantages it has. It creates dependency, it is not sustainable, among some other things. But if you create a market relationship, I can assure you, as long as the farmer sees the benefit of that technology, he will continuously patronize it, as long as he sees value. Because by the way, people pay for value. Whatever people pay for, it is value. So if he pays for a value today and the perceived value is not there, he will automatically not go there. So for me, I would say letting the markets take lead is the best way to go through this, instead of providing some of these things, giving out freebies. They don't last, they don't always create the desired impact, and they don't go to the scale you want them to. So if you do it free, mostly it's limited to the number of people we are able to reach. Sustainability is threatened. Scale, which is most important, because when you talk about sustainability, even if an initiative is sustainable, for it to take that systemic nature, for it to take over the system like a wildfire, we must have plenty people doing it, plenty people adopting it. If out of 100 farmers, we have only 1 or 2 adopting based on maybe a support you've provided to them, then a lot of forces are against them. In the long run, they might drop it. But out of 100, we have 10, then 20, 30, 50, 60, it is scaling. You can be assured that the whole system have taken it. And the only way you can guarantee this is if you approach it from the market angle. I can assure you, you can never achieve scale if you go through the free giving style that you tend to have some development actors do. And I can assure you, many development actors are beginning to have a mind shift. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much. Desayomi, do you have anything to chip into that? Do you want to add to that?
I mean, Nuren I think it's so unfair that it goes first all the time. Okay, so I'll just say that on a general note, adding to what Nuren has said, it depends on the context of how the incentive is packaged. For example, we used to say at Sahel Consulting that we wouldn't maybe give refreshment to farmers to attend training, because we know that they will come for the training because of the refreshment or because of the soap and something that you are packaging for them. That is what would encourage them to come most times. So we put forward incentives as a way to support their productivity. So for example, instead of going to distribute fertilizers, let's say to farmers that, oh, we've come, take these fertilizers, use it to do whatever you want. We would rather walk them through the process of applying the fertilizer. So the fertilizer stays with us. But we tell them that, oh, for this area of land, you come today, we set the date, agree with the community, we are all applying fertilizer today, but we don't end up giving them those things so that they decide what to do to them. And I think that incentivizing farmers have to be more strategic in a way that it supports their productivity. It adds to their business so that at the end of the day, they get more income from it. And there's also a lot of social and behavioral change that has to go into it. Nuren has mentioned some of them, but a lot of sensitization, resensitization, and making the farmers see in the long term the benefits beyond the immediate one. We've had situations where we have a model where we have the farmers provide area of land. If they have it, we support them with the inputs and so on to cultivate the land, but not by directly giving it to them. And in Kaduna, I think 2 years ago, we had a situation where we were doing that. It was going on well until when one humanitarian project came and was sharing freebies to the farmers. You know, they share and go. And we saw that they were not turning out, they were not even caring about us again. And so we had to do a lot of community engagement. We're engaging the leadership, we're engaging the influencers to really drive that behavioral change, because we had to communicate that this would come and go. But if you really like take your time to learn the process of improving your yield and having access all year round to cultivating fodder for your animals, then it stays with you. You continue. When you even sell from your, when you make what you make from your harvest, you can sell out the excess, make more money from it, and then reinvest in the next year, beyond just, just collecting the freebies and all. So that intentional communication and resensitization has to always happen.
Thank you very much. So you're saying that your incentives are good, but it should be strategically positioned to improve their productivity. And that is very, very important. That is very important, because we really cannot take away really incentives from whatever we are doing. I mean, even in raising children, we use incentives to raise them. So how much more bringing in this kind of behavioral change for, full human beings. Dr. Ayosa, do you want to add to the question?
Well, I think what I would like to say is that I like the balance that Noreen and Fisayomi brought to my contribution, because that's a very good balance. Because when I mentioned incentive, one thing I didn't realize, it also gives the impression that I'm talking about freebies, which is not necessarily what I'm talking about. Like Noreen said, I also do not believe a lot in completely free things to the farmers, because it also creates a different mindset from the mindset that we want from those farmers, But like Fisayomi now said, that strategic incentive is really what we need. But we can't take away incentive, especially because we need adoption. Even when nations are dealing with each other, they bring in incentives to get some other nations to do some things that they want them to do. So you see, US is dealing with us, and then they do incentives so that we can bring some products to their country, and different people come up with different policies for incentives. So strategic incentives, I totally agree that that's what we need to do, but not freebies. And then for us that are in business, we also always want to focus on ensuring that the mindset of the market mindset is what we're creating. So we don't lose that process of incentivizing people. So that's a good balance, and that's just what I wanted to say. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Very soon we're going to be taking questions, and this is the last round of questions. So Fisayomi, you're going first. You're going first this time around. So how can we foster collaboration between researchers, policymakers, and farmers, and not just even farmers now, different people within the value chain of agriculture? So the farmers, the processors, the transportation people, logistics, everybody within the value chain, supply chain, develop and implement effective technological solutions. Like you rightly said, we need that collaboration, and I'm really very excited. I think I'll reach out to you after this, because what you said, I've been talking about the need to have like a roundtable conversation with everybody within this space doing different things within the value chain. I think we all need to sit down and gather together and ask ourselves, what are we doing? So that we can begin to quote, assign roles and say, okay, Livestalk 247, take this one and know that this is what you are doing. And Afri-Match, take this one and know that this is what you are doing. Look for another one, take this one. Because you get to the field and you see people, and the same thing that you think you are the one developing solution, 3 people are doing it. And the worst part is even the same community. That's the one that is much more interesting. The field is so big that we really cannot exhaust it. We don't have enough players, if we think about it, within this value chain. But many times we are duplicating efforts, doing what one person has done in the same place. So and so I think that all of this calls for the need, is highlighting the need for that synergy, that collaboration. How do we have this collaboration between not just the players, those of us, the solution providers, but also the policymakers, because policies are important to drive the agenda that we want to drive. So how do you think we can, have that collaboration for this technological advancement? Sayem, over to you.
All right, thank you. Since we are talking about technology, maybe we can look at how to leverage technology to really create a platform that brings together these different stakeholders, the government, the private sector, the development organization, the entrepreneurs, the farmers, the associations. Maybe we need a platform that really centralizes what we are doing so that people are able to connect. Please, can you mute your mic? Okay, so that people are able to connect and really share information on what they are doing, stay up to date with their activities. For example, Mexico is implementing the Future program. I know we've had a lot of conversations with Mexico, and we are able to know what activities they are doing in different states and what are the key areas of complementarity so that we do not have to reinvent the wheel. And most times too, I noticed that, especially for entrepreneurs, they even do not have access to information on the interventions and supports that are out there that could help them. So it's more of a push and pull effect. So beyond us also pushing, the stakeholders in the space, actually the learned ones, should also take time to reach out. Sometimes you don't even get to know what the government has to offer until you walk into their office and you see different initiatives that they are doing that could even support your businesses or your agricultural practices. I think that's a way to start from. We have that platform that shares this information widely. Everybody have access to it, regardless of where you play any role, and you can reach out to collaborate with people. Oh, we wanted to do this intervention. We see that you've been doing something in these same states. How can we collaborate? What number of farmers have you reached? How can we extend that further? And then we also need a lot of funding. But because at the end of the day, we've talked about all the good things that could be done, infrastructure, access to farmers, supporting them with different incentives and so on. We need funding to get this done. So we need to crowd in more investors, donors, and even make the government, commit to providing more funding for technology on a general note and specifically for agriculture.
Okay. Thank you very much, Usayemi. That was very on point, very, very on point. Funding is important, it's very important. You don't want to know the number of big dreams that funding has killed. Lack of funding has killed. So funding is very important. So this question will go to Dr. Ayo. You've talked quite a bit about, the need for policies and incentives. Can you share a bit more now, a little bit more specific on some policies that you would like to see? Or I think sometimes some of these policies are on ground, some of these laws are on ground, but maybe they are not, implemented. So would you like to share a bit more on some policies that you would like to see within this space to drive this agricultural technological advancements?
Okay, but now, thank
you, Dr. Gucci. Yeah, Abubakar Sadiq, you are speaking. If you could kindly mute me. Thank you, Abubakar. Appreciate it. So, yeah, some policies that the government can implement to improve technology for sustainability. I know I've said a lot about the fact that it's urgent and we need the support of the government to enable adoption. One of the things I mentioned earlier that I also want to reiterate is there a possibility of tax break even for tech for ag? When you are doing technology for agriculture, can we even have tax break from the government so that we can be incentivized to do even more in the space that we are playing in, And I think that for the government to understand the the need for this, they probably need to be able to dive deeper into the benefit of technology, particularly for agriculture. You know, they need to be able to see how technology is helping to achieve sustainability and also profitability for the government. So that's one of the things that come readily to mind. I also think that the government can also play a role in creating policies that support infrastructures in rural areas, you know, because one of the biggest issues that we also have to deal with is the fact that there are not enough infrastructure for the farmers to rely on. Even if the farmers need, even if they are willing to take on our solution, do they have electricity where they are? You know, one policy that, or one initiative of the government that I've seen recently that really comment is the REA project, where together and they are setting up mini grids in rural places so that farmers that do not have access to the national grid can access like solar mini grid and have access to light to do some things. So I believe that the government needs to do more and more of those kind of policies that give farmers access to infrastructure so that the farmers can access some of the things that can improve their productivity, that can make them more profitable, and then can also take them out of that bracket of the poorest people, you know, poorest people in Africa and maybe, you know, in most parts of the world, you know. So policies that support tax breaks, policies that support infrastructure in those locations, I think that those are things that come readily to my mind right now.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for that. And we'll go straight to Mr. Nurin. So now, in the line of your work, in livestock agriculture, you know, plant agriculture, what are some of the most interesting solutions you've seen? You know, solutions that you've seen and you go like, people are really thinking in this country, people are thinking, you know, what are some of the interesting solutions you've seen and why? What about those solutions really got you excited?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ogochi. Talking about the technology solutions that we've seen in the agricultural sector that have really been interesting, and most importantly, some of those solutions were homegrown here in Nigeria, and they were very much tailored and hitting the pain points of the farmers. One is around digital extension services. We have our partners in this space, the likes of Extension Africa, for example, that we currently partner with. Extension is one of the pain points of almost all of the ADPs in Northeast Nigeria that we work. We have states that last time they employed extension agents was in 1991. So in the next 5 years, you won't have any extension agents in the state ADP because they will all be retiring, or they must have retired. Some of them have retired by now, which is leaving a very big, huge. And I can tell you, without extension, agriculture is practically going nowhere, because that is the lifeline of introducing new products, new technologies, new everything, advancement and information to farmers. So we are now seeing a company made up of very young people who have designed a model that is helping farmers bridge that access to extension. Most importantly, the commercialized extension service by bundling extension alongside other products, because we do know that the psychology of farmers pay for tangibles, things they can see, things they can touch. They don't mostly pay for services, the non-tangibles. You can't go and give a farmer extension service and say, pay me for extension. But these companies have been able to innovatively unbundle extension into other products offerings they do, leveraging technology. This is really a nice innovation and is bridging that gap. And by now, we are seeing from the participants, over 600,000 participants that work within the network of our activity. We are seeing one extension farmer to one extension agents to 200 farmers, and many of them private extension agents. And we even have some states whose public extension agents are also aligning with what Extension Africa is doing. We have seen Somebody talking? Camo Sunday. In case you have, maybe if you can mute. We have seen seed companies and agricultural input dealers leveraging technology to reach the last mile with their products. You know, we have the likes of Intera, who is connecting different agricultural actors in the space. Some of them are input dealers, some of them are commodity traders. So they have a platform that brings everybody together, and you could see a lot of people coming together, cross-fertilize ideas, trade together. That connectivity is there through this platform. We have also seen some trading platforms that have been very effective on the field. Of course, we partnered Livestalk 247. This is helping to give farmers information around price, so farmers can make effective decision on when and where to buy and when and where to sell, because before their contacts with the technology, they only sell to the closest markets to them, and they only sell, and they are not in a better position to negotiate. Then those who negotiate are actually the livestock traders, those who buy from them. But because they have idea of price across board, they can easily negotiate and decide, okay, I will not sell to you, I'll sell to this other person. We've also seen the likes of AgriArch, for example, who brought in a Kaswa app, that is the app that are using in the trading of commodity. So farmers have access to information. I can know, oh, this market, a bag 50 kg of maize in this market is 49,000, in that other market is 45,000. So I know where to buy, where to aggregate, where to sell. They have issues of quality. Okay, so company needs this product and these are their quality requirements. It is helping to bridge that information gap. And I can tell you, this is adding value to the income of farmers, because for us, whatever technology solution is coming, the ultimate for us as development agency is how does it benefit the household? How does it benefit that smallholder farmer that is investing his time and energy and all of his life to grow these products, grow these crops or these animals? Then lastly, we have seen a lot of one technology that is making a lot of waves from what we've seen in the financial space. We have the likes of Standard Microfinance Bank, for example, in Adamawa, who is reaching farmers with real financial solutions, targeted, tailor-made for farmers. You know, there are a lot of financial products out there that even if you are a farmer, no matter how learned you are, you won't go for them. But these ones are tailor-made for farmers. The only challenge we have is their spreads. They are limited to one state. But they are able to take bank to the doorstep of the farmer. The farmer can interact with them from beginning till the end, and he never sees their office. He never steps out of his village. So, and this is only made possible using technology. We have seen technology like the likes of RainDev, who are digitizing savings group. You know, savings group is one of the very important source of finance for farmers, even though sometimes it might not give them all what they need, but they can use their savings group, money from the savings group as equity to obtain finance and credits from banks. So they are helping them. We have RainDev now that is now digitizing all of their savings process, giving them a financial history so that they can go to the bank and say, we need money. And if they ask, what is your history? That digital platform have all of that history, and it is helping. So a farmer that ordinarily will not be able to approach a bank to get loan because he has a history and he has a record of his financial dealings based on what RainDev have provided, is now able to approach a bank confidently and say, this is what I need. These are things that we are seeing technology helping us to bridge. And I can tell you the cut across different space in the agricultural sector, from inputs to primary production, to service provision, to value addition, to processing, to trade across the value chain. Thank you, and over.
Thank you very much. Those are very, very interesting solutions, and I'm also excited listening to them. So we have a few questions. We're just a few minutes away from the end of this webinar. We have a few questions, and I'll just read out the questions, and it was not targeted to any specific person, so I think I'm at liberty to choose who will answer. So the first question is, do you think we need to unbundle the term farmers and categorize the farmer by multiple characteristics, then tailor our selling approach to capture specific characteristics? I'll ask the question again. Do you think we need to unbundle the term farmer and categorize the farmer by different characteristics, I think, and then tailor our selling or marketing approach to capture different, specific characteristics of this farmer? So I think I'll just direct that question to Dr. Ayo, since he's our in-house entrepreneur.
Okay, do you want me to go now?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. I think that this question is very spot on, because this is one of the things that we have had to do over the years. We started e-commerce with an online platform, and then eventually realized that, it's not one size fits all for all the farmers. There are farmers that are online, there are the ones that are offline. There are some that they just want to talk to you on the phone. They just tell you that, I even have internet access, but I'm not interested in going online. I just want to talk to somebody on the phone. And there are some that you just want to deal with an agent network system that we talked about, which is making inroad into those rural places. So one of the things that we have even had to do at AfriMash is to have what we call a multi-channel solution, where we have a team that is handling online, and they have their own sales system, they have their own marketing system. We have a different team that is handling an agent network that has their own sales system, they have their own marketing system. We have a different team that is doing USSD. They have their own sales and marketing system. We have another team for telesales, and these are for people that want to talk to someone on the phone. They also have their own marketing and and sales staff. So for us to deal with farmers, yes, we need to unbundle the different categories of farmers that we have, and then tailor make our sales process, our marketing process to meet the farmers where they are. Another reason why I said that this is spot on is what we need to do as solution providers, as tech solution providers. One of the things that we need to do is to be able to meet the farmers where they are. And one of the strategies to meet the farmer at his or our own level is unbundling who we call the farmer and finding out what is the level of that farmer, what is that farmer comfortable with, and then take our solution to meet that farmer at that level. I hope that answers that question.
Very fantastic answers, very, very fantastic answers. And in answering that question, it reminds me of the evolution of most businesses. Many people don't know how much as a business entity you need to not necessarily pivot, but need to be agile in tweaking your modality to meet the reality. It's one thing to have a business plan on paper, and then when it's just like in projects, so when you start implementing, you realize, hey, there's a lot that needs to be done. And well done, sir, well done. I think people like you, I think on Judgment Day, God will give people like you big hugs than some of us that are in paid employments. Being an entrepreneur in Nigeria is not child's play. Okay, so the next question is, how can innovative technological solutions solve the problems or challenges of food insecurity in Nigeria? And what are the innovative technological solutions? So I think that Mr. Nurin has answered the second part of the question, and I think at some point you've answered that the question, but I'll just ask Isayomi, Ms. Isayomi, how can technological solutions, innovative ones, solve the problems of food insecurity in Nigeria?
Okay, yeah, thank you. So I would say that everything we've said today answers that question. So if we have the good partnerships, increase farmers' access to let's not just tailor it to farmers now, increase the access of to technology across the different players and stakeholders within the agri sector, food and agri sector, increase access to information, data and knowledge, increase research. If we are able to increase research and translate the findings from this research into some implementable activities that would drive impact, then at the end of the day, foster collaboration and so on, at the end of the day, we would start seeing the results in food security, but we can tailor this using some examples. So we could use technology to reach farmers at the most basic level, to train them or advise them, provide advisory on improved farming practices. For example, I know we talk about precision agriculture in a very big manner, but precision agriculture could also still be tailored to the farmers in a way that they could comprehend. So if you say, I think it was Noreen that mentioned it, that instead of using 1 kilogram of something, use half. Instead of using this type of fertilizer, for example, most farmers will just go and buy NPK and use regardless of what crop they are planting. Instead of using this, can you use this type of fertilizer composition instead? It will increase your productivity. And at the end of the day, increased productivity means that we have more food going into the market, and then there's increased accessibility leading to food security. We also need to use technology to address a very big challenge we have in the sector, and that's logistics. So if we focus more on helping these farmers increase their productivity, what happens when we don't even have the right set of logistics to take it from farm to the processors, to the aggregators, to the markets? So we need a lot of technology for livestock. The whole cold chain part of livestock is very missing in Nigeria. So it's difficult to even transport meat from one place to the other in a very good condition, or milk. So we also had the issue of egg glut last year. So these things are what we need to really put in place to make sure that as we are increasing productivity, it translates to the end product. We are able to see. It's possible that we are even, production has increased over the years, but because of a lot of post-harvest loss that happens, we don't get to feel it in the market. So these are the places where technology could be very helpful for to achieve food security.
Thank you very much, Fisayomi, and you are very correct. That issue of logistics, I've always said it that one of the bigger mistakes we have made so far in those of us preferring solutions is we focused on one side, which is production. We're increasing the farmers' productivity and everything, but we have forgotten that the farmers' productivity cannot be complete if the supply is not handled. And how do we empower more supply, more demand for what the farmers are producing? That's where we now begin to talk about logistics. We begin to talk about processing, and other aspects that enhance uptake. And also even the economic situation. I'm in the meat business in Livestalk 247 is one of the things that we do. And I can tell you that the request for meat has drastically dropped. I mean, just this morning, we got, I think, the fourth or fifth price increase from our partners. So you can imagine what that means. So you can imagine someone that paid for beef yesterday, and I have to call the person this morning to say, ma, I'm sorry, we cannot supply you, because the amount she even paid yesterday is way less than the amount that my suppliers are asking for. So you see, these are things that we need to also have conversations about. So thank you very much. And I'm going to be I think this is the last question for this round, and the last question that was asked. So how are we bridging the gap of infrastructure or user access terminal that costs so much for low-income earners? Keeping in mind that these low-income earners are the bulk of those who need these technologies in agriculture. I think we've discussed this quite a bit in the course of our conversation here, but I'll just still ask as a recap, so that we can keep that at the top of our mind. How are we bridging the gap of infrastructure or user access terminal that costs so much for low-income earners? And I'm going to be asking, I'm going to be directing this question to Mr. Nure.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm trying to understand the question very well. How we are bridging.
So the question is, I think what the person is trying to ask is, knowing that some of these technologies, are expensive, and then also we have these infrastructural deficits, within the ecosystem. How are we bridging this gap for, number one, the more expensive technology, and then the deficit in infrastructure within the smallholder farmers, the low income earners and smallholder farmers? I think that's what the person is trying to ask.
Okay, let me give it a try. I hope I am able to. I hope the person asking the question will be satisfied today. But if you are disappointed, apologies. Let me use the digital technology as an example. We have situations where producer organizations, clusters, not the smallholder farmers you are targeting, even have, who is talking? Imam Ibrahim, if you can mute, sorry. Yeah, so sometimes not every single farmer even have a smartphone. Let me use digital technology as an example. And because that person have no smartphone, for us, at the point of design of our implementation, we feel, okay, because I don't have a smartphone should not be a barrier to accessing some of those benefits that comes with digital solutions. So you look for, and that's why you have people in clusters, so that those who do not have terminals to access these solutions leverage on others who have. If it's access to information about commodity, for example, maybe within that cluster, you have one or two people who have smartphones, they can only get this information and they share with their cluster during their periodic engagements. Because most times when we have producer organizations who are operating like a business, they will have periodic engagements. During those periodic engagements, they are able to access some of this information. Sometimes it might be weather forecast. Sometimes it might be come through. So it depends on the solution. Some solutions, for example, you might feel I don't need to have a smartphone. Let's leverage USSD, for example, to pass certain information to farmers. It is called leveraging technology. It still boils back to our principle earlier. Who is the consumer? What does the resources he has, what are the resources he doesn't have? So based on the resources available to that person, then you design and tailor-made solutions that can meet his needs. I don't know if that provides the answer, and if I have understood the question differently, apologies. Thank you, Aruba.
So I think your answer is quite apt in this regard. I mean, I think aside from all that we've talked about, one of the most important ways we can really bridge this gap is, gathering these beneficiaries, our market, our target market in clusters. And when they come together like that, they usually can do a lot, much more, like in cooperatives now, a lot, much more than they can, and get a lot, much more than they can if they were alone. So community clustering is very important within this. Okay, and that brings us to the end of our questions. I don't know if you have a last word for us. I'll just give us, say, 1 minute, 30 seconds each for our final word, and then we'll call it a day, a session, because we'll have others. Before we do that, I'd like to say that this conference is being recorded and it will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/Livestalk 247. So you can go back and watch this session and other previous sessions. And yes, and if you have any other question, you can just drop a comment on the YouTube video, and we'll reach out to you. Thank you all for your time. But before we close, let us get our final notes from our speakers. So we'll start with Dr. Ayo.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Dr. Gucci. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Let me close by saying two things. There's something that happened in Paris earlier this month. The former US President, Barack Obama, said that our Silicon Valley tycoons are focusing on moving or setting up Mars for human habitation, that they should not be focusing on that. We should focus on saving the Earth right now. And that's what today's session is about. Let's focus on saving the Earth that we are living in at the moment, where we have been bettered, we have lived all of our lives. Let's make it more sustainable. And I want to close by saying that this is a responsibility for all of us. It's urgent, and is the responsibility on our shoulders, and is a responsibility for our generation. So let's work together to make agriculture more sustainable, and more importantly, from the theme of today's discussion, let's look at how technology can help to make agri more sustainable and provide all the support that we need for technology to secure the future of the world, and at the same time ensure food security for the world. Thank you again, Dr. Gucci and the entire team at Livestalk 247, and all the speakers and participants for today. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, sir. Fisayomi, over to you.
All right, so I would like to say a big thank you to the organizers, the Livestalk 247 team, and Dr. Oguchi. Thank you for the facilitation. And a big well done to everyone that joined. I would just like to add that in our own little way, we should continue to see how we can continue to contribute to achieving food security through our work, through the things that we do. And if it requires that we need to continue to learn new skills to provide more value to the sector, I would urge everyone in your little way, please take on those new skills, especially in technology. It's becoming the wave now, and try to also understand more about sustainability. And of course, as you provide that contribution, you would also find out that there's a lot of opportunities out there for each and every one of us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Very, very key. Continue to better yourself, develop your capacities. Nurain, over to you.
I would say agriculture is the sure bet. Over 60% of the world population are directly or indirectly employed under agriculture. So it is the only way to succeed. So for that reason, we must do all our possible best to ensure we engage in agriculture that is sustainable, that we fit the needs of today, not only for today, also the needs of the future. We must do everything in our best to ensure that agricultural activities are performing at their best. Lastly, I want to say thank you to Livestalk 247 for organizing this conversation and for facilitating the whole process. Dr. Kochi, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ayo. Thank you, Fisayo, for adding your voice to this important conversation and for the knowledge you have shared with us. And for the attendees, we also say thank you for giving 2 hours of your time in this our busy world to listen to this. It only shows value you have added and the trust and confidence you have in the team that are leading the whole of the conversation. We say thank you, thank you, thank you.
So thank you very much to everyone that has joined. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you for your time. And till the next edition, please keep increasing your capacity, better yourself, do what you need to do, skill up. And then, yes, agriculture is the way to go. Till we meet again, have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.